A super El Niño is brewing in 2026, threatening to disrupt global weather patterns.
Ocean temperatures are rising, signaling a major climate shift that will affect billions.
This warming will trigger extreme weather events across 3 separate continents.
From your morning coffee to global food security, the consequences will be profound.
Agricultural harvests are at risk as climate conditions become increasingly unpredictable.
Some cities may even face the winter entirely underwater due to intense rainfall.
This is a super El Niño, one of the strongest events ever recorded. Forecasts show temperatures climbing over 3 degrees Fahrenheit above the normal average.
Experts are monitoring these shifts as they reorganize weather for billions of people. We have previously explored how this ocean shift hijacks our planet's climate.
That was the science. Now let's look at the real-world impact.
El Niño does not distribute its damage evenly across the globe.
It picks winners and losers, country by country, in an unfair game. The impact reaches far beyond any single nation's borders. A super El Niño releases massive amounts of stored ocean heat into the atmosphere.
This can push global temperatures to new record highs on an already warming planet.
It is essentially a local ocean event with a massive global fever. Some nations are on the verge of drowning under this extreme weather.
Others will suffer through relentless droughts that refuse to break.
Wildfires will become more frequent, fueled by the drying landscape. Some regions might barely notice the change, while others face total devastation. The real question is not if it changes the world, but where it hits hardest. We must understand who pays the price, and if we are ready. Let's follow the damage and see where this event lands. We start with the engine, because everything downstream depends on it. Normally, steady winds act like a hand holding warm water in the west. During El Niño, that hand lets go, causing the water to shift. Think of a bathtub tilted, gathering all the warm water at one end. We start with the engine, because everything downstream depends on it. A vast pool of tropical heat ends up sitting in the wrong place. The world essentially splits in two from this displacement. One half gets far too much rain, while the other is robbed of it. It's a planet-sized seesaw, with the Pacific as its pivot point. The trouble begins because the ocean never keeps its heat to itself. That warmth pours into the sky, dragging rain clouds along with it. Tropical rainfall that usually sits over Southeast Asia packs up and moves. Thousands of miles east, the open Pacific receives this massive moisture. This year, the shift is even more extreme than usual. The Pacific was already warming before this tipping point began. El Niño is stacking its heat on top of an already primed ocean. A bigger shove means the dominoes fall harder and faster. This is the idea that powers everything that follows. Move the rain, and you don't just change the local weather. You start a chain reaction across the entire globe. The first one tips in the Pacific, knocking into the next. Until it reaches countries that never feel El Niño's rain directly.
Scientists call these long-distance links teleconnections.
You could just call it the domino effect. One ocean tipping the whole board. The first domino falls right where El Niño is born. Warm water reaches the coast of Peru and Ecuador first. Normally, cold water wells up from the deep, loaded with nutrients.
Feeding massive schools of anchovies that support global food chains.
Peru harvests these fish to make protein for farms worldwide.
The warm phase shuts it all down.
The catch collapses, impacting global food prices.
One bad season quietly lifts the cost of raising livestock. The price of your chicken can shift because of fish you never see. Peru knows this cycle intimately. A powerful El Niño can cause billions of dollars in damage. On land, that same warm ocean does the opposite of drought. It loads the air with moisture and brings it out. Regions that are usually bone dry can face weeks of torrential rain. Infrastructure is overwhelmed by the rising water, and fields are submerged. When food cannot reach the cities, prices spike overnight. Shelves empty in a wave of panic buying. Warm water reaches the coast of Peru and Ecuador first. Ecuador is the largest banana exporter on the planet. The floods that drown its roads rot the fruit on plantations. Standing water also breeds mosquitoes and sickness.
On top of the ruined harvest comes a surge of outbreaks.
The fruit in your cart carries the footprint of a flood. Further south, the story flips once more, and here El Niño can help. It loads the air with moisture and brings it out. Its enormous soybean harvest can swell. This climate pattern does not result in severe outcomes in every region. It works as a great redistribution, stealing rain from some places. Cross to the far side of the Pacific, and you reach the half left, gasping. This is where the drought lives. Keep in mind, this is the mirror image of South America. Where Peru drowns, these land crack and dry. The same ocean, the same event, opposite disasters. Begin with Indonesia as the rain clouds march east. The islands dry out, and the real danger is what comes next.
Indonesia sits on vast peatlands, ancient carbon-rich soil.
Once it dries, it burns like a buried fuse. Fires erupt across Sumatra and Borneo, creating a thick haze. Indonesia and Malaysia grow most of the world's palm oil. Drought stars that harvest, and the cost creeps upward. The damage runs deeper than food. Indonesia is also the world's top source of nickel. Nickel hardens steel and powers electric car batteries. Its mines lean heavily on hydroelectric power. Drain the rivers, and that supply stutters. Sending ripples into the price of everything from cutlery to batteries. Next door lies Vietnam, the beating heart of Robusta coffee. These beans are behind most instant coffee on Earth. A severe El Niño can carve away a fifth of its harvest. The world tastes it in the cup. Vietnam leans hard on hydroelectric dams too. When the rivers fall low, power runs short. It's the same grim recipe across the region.
Thailand's sugar and rice shrivel.
The Philippines watches its corn fail. When exporters halt shipments, prices of staples can leap. Add it all up, and one dry season can nudge the cost of living. 3 separate shocks arriving from the same patch of missing rain.
Then comes India, where El Niño smothers the monsoon. Farmers there call it the real finance minister of the nation. A weak monsoon means failing crops.
Rising food prices and inflation that topples governments.
Far to the south, Australia braces for its most dangerous months.
It dries the continent out and primes the land for fierce bushfires.
While its wheat harvest shrinks
driving up global bread prices.
3 separate shocks arriving from the same patch of missing rain. A paradox that catches the same country coming and going. For the southern U.S., a strong El Niño means one thing:
Rain, and enormous amounts of it.
From Texas across the Gulf to Florida, the storm track wakes up.
Countries used to quiet winters face round after round of heavy rain.
You might think that is good news for a drought-stricken region.
Reservoirs refill, but the rain does not come gently.
It arrives as atmospheric rivers, fire hoses aimed at the coast, dropping months of water in a matter of days.
The ground cannot drink it in fast enough.
Rivers jump banks, and streets vanish underwater. The very storms that end the drought can bury neighborhoods in mud.
That's the cruel paradox. The same water is both the cure and the catastrophe.
Infrastructure built for a drier world collides with a supercharged ocean. The repair bill climbs into the billions.
There is one quiet piece of relief buried in all of this.
The same El Niño that floods the West strangles hurricanes in the Atlantic,
ripping the storms apart before they can threaten the coast.
Travel north, and the picture flips.
Northern states and Canada get a milder, drier winter.
One country split in half, with different fates. El Niño does not care about borders or economies. It just shifts heat and water, letting the consequences land.
Understanding the pattern is our only way to prepare.